Welcome to Mortgage Markets and More. I am your host, Peter D'Angelo, with your real estate update here on Friday, January 19th, 2024. First, I want to apologize for the delay in getting the newest episode out. I did have a little bout with COVID last week, which did set me behind the eight ball a little bit with our schedule, but happy to report I'm back at 100% and we're picking up where we left off. Last week, we had 2 mortgage updates, so I thought it only appropriate for us to start up again with a real estate market update. Next week, I'll have the data from the National Association of Realtors to report out some of the last retail sales numbers for homes in the U.S. for December of 2023, and we'll also have preliminary estimates of total home sales for the year. So that will help guide us as to maybe establishing some trends as to where things may be going. As we wait for that information, I thought it would be appropriate for us to address something that I've been reading about a lot, and it's come up on a number of podcasts that I listen to, and it's this concept of the silver tsunami. If you haven't heard about this yet, it's essentially a concept that some analysts are expecting that we're going to see an influx in home inventory over the next year, precipitated by homeowners at age 50 and up and the baby boomers needing to downsize. And that being what precipitates some more activity in the real estate market and getting some more inventory in. What we're going to go over is essentially both sides of this argument. One side is very optimistic, and the other one is a little bit more pessimistic or realistic with how this can operate. And we're going to delve into this. On the optimistic side, we have some analysts that are expecting almost 50% of homeowners over the age of 50 to be looking to downsize this year or next year. What that could possibly yield for us could be something approximating 30 million homes that could become available, because that's around the number of 50% of homeowners 50 years and older. Whether or not it's going to happen overnight remains to be seen, but that is one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is that it's not going to be something that happens for 50% of homeowners over the age of 50, and it's something that is going to be an element to consider as the real estate market develops this year, but that things may kind of progress slowly because of a few things that we're still seeing in the market that, well, aren't quite conducive to an influx of inventory and an influx of demand from buyers. The demand side is there. It's on the sidelines for years. There's so many would-be first-time home buyers and then other individuals who can't, let's say, make their home into the space that they need it to for their needs right now, and they are looking to upsize, get a larger home, and that's not necessarily something that is very easy to do right now with the extremely low inventory that we're still seeing. Let's look at some of the preliminary numbers. In 2021, there was 6.12 million homes sold in the U.S. These are not annualized numbers, so this is the actual sales data from the National Association of Realtors. This is existing homes. 2022, we had 5.03 million homes sold. So we saw that the compression, what was happening around that was rates were going up. So it became an affordability issue, and it kind of stymied the real estate market a bit, and people panic pulled listings. I remember seeing that in 2022, and then we kind of find ourselves in the situation we are in now where there's not a lot of inventory. 2023, we don't have December yet, as I was mentioning before, but we do have up through November the actual number of existing home sales, which came in at 3.79 million. So that's 11 months out of the year accounted for, and that's significantly lower than the 5 million that we had in 2022. December, we can only anticipate because of the seasonality of the industry. There's less transactions happening. I know here at Guaranteed Rate, we were still putting up some pretty good numbers, and there was still quite a bit of activity in our region here and in this area, but across the country, we'll still see December be slightly lower. In my experience, even though we're in unprecedented times, normally a number approximating anywhere between 300,000 to 450 being on the positive, beneficial side. I think we're going to be in a margin there, but time will tell, and I'll look forward to sharing that next week. There is also, on the other side, the concern that, sure, you'll have maybe 50% of homeowners over the age of 50 looking to downsize, but where are they going to downsize to? The inventory issue still remains for the real estate market at large. So it's not a guarantee that yeah, you'll have an influx of people who may be motivated to sell their home because they'd like to downsize, but that next lily pad that they're going to hop over to isn't necessarily there, clear and present yet. So that's something to consider while we're taking into account both sides of this argument. As I was mentioning, the affordability continues to be an issue. There's a lack of harmony at this point between where interest rates are and where home prices are. Home prices are proving to be extremely resilient right now, and they're staying high. We are seeing some more homes that have been listed for a longer period of time. Let's say they're not turnkey, they may need some elbow grease and work, and that's on a spectrum from a little bit of work to a whole lot of work. And we're seeing some price reductions occur in my local market and in some of the other markets that I do business. But by and large, it's not a high quality of inventory across the board. So even as we talked about on the last real estate update, that the housing supply inventory was like 3.5 months. That's extremely low. And that 3.5 months doesn't have quality inventory in it necessarily. So, as far as if we did a quality control review of where good looking homes that are turnkey that don't require a lot of work, we look at that could be accommodating 1 month of the supply, and which we feel as home buyers and as would-be home buyers that there's just not as much opportunity. But the good news is things are trending. We're starting to see some more listings pop up. I keep an eye on my Zillow like a hawk, and I'll tell you, I'm getting emails left and right from Zillow notifying me of new homes that are coming on the market in a number of the markets that I'm working with clients to try to secure that next home or that first home for. So I am optimistic that we're going to start seeing inventory do a little bit better. But let's contextualize this further. Interest rates were on a great run. We saw interest rates drop for about 8 to 9 weeks as we closed out 2023, went into 2024. There was a lot of optimism. I'll get more into that next week with our mortgage update. But suffice it to say, at this point, reality is starting to bite, like I was mentioning before. The markets are realizing that the Fed rate cuts are not necessarily going to be coming as soon as the market was trading and hoping for. The Federal Reserve has made some comments. Some of the Fed members have made comments, and the term that we use for their comments is hawkish. Think of it this: a hawk is aggressive, a dove, soft, peaceful. Their comments in December were dovish. That softness, the market took advantage of, started trading in a way that created a rate environment for mortgage rates that was much lower. That's all on the promise of the optimism. That's not on actually anything tangibly happening. Now we're sitting at a point where we see retail sales are coming in for December pretty hot. All the reports about inflation, we could be seeing the foundation being built for us to get an inflation number that's higher than the Federal Reserve would like to see, or even an increase. We want flat or down. If it pops up a little bit and then comes down, we're good. But if it pops up and it stays now at that new level, or it goes up again month over month, we're going to see the Fed just continue to hold rates, and rate cuts will not be part of this conversation. It was still very much on the table for there to be rate hikes, which would then bring rates up again, and we could easily back into the 7% range and mid sevens, high sevens. Because the price and the rate are high, it's making affordability issues throughout the markets. As far as the smaller homes are concerned, think of it this way. If we have low inventory right now and those baby boomers and those homeowners 50 and older who are interested in downsizing, they're going to be competing with each other. And if that floodgate opens, sure, we may have a lot of inventory, but they're going to be competing for very little because that space in real estate right now is just as low in supply. So these are things to consider as we're taking a look at analyst projections. I am falling somewhere in the middle. I like balance and moderation. I do believe that the 50 and older homeowners will have opportunities to sell their home and get into a new home that fits their needs. And I think this happening is going to be later into 2024, possibly even after we start seeing some rate cuts happen. When rates go down, home prices will continue to be resilient and continue to go up. And that will still create an affordability issue. So it's not a guarantee that this affordability issue is going to go away if and when the rates drop this year. It will still be a very competitive market. In conclusion, taking a look at these different trends and seeing that we had a very, very weak 2023 when it comes to home sales. 2024, I'm still very optimistic about. There's more inventory. There's a little bit more understanding of the situation on the parts of everybody involved. All parties involved have now existed in this environment for long enough where it's not a surprise anymore. And it also is realistically setting expectations. The days of the 4% and the 3% interest rates, I think, are squarely behind us at this point. I do not see a high likelihood of us getting down that low. We are feeling a little bit of relief because we did see those 8% interest rates, those very high 7% interest rates, over 8% in some scenarios. And if you're trying to buy investment property through conventional loan programs, those interest rates are high, well above 8% sometimes. So as all of these pricing components are still working out, and like I said before, we really, really need to see volatility come out of the market. We need to see the Fed reach their inflation target and they're essentially establish homeostasis for the market so it can regularly trade. And then we'll get a sense of where mortgage rates will be at, comfortably within a market that operates quote unquote normally. Another news flash here. We haven't had a normal market for mortgage rates in almost 20 years, the better part of 20 years now. We had a rate environment that was artificially created in response to 2008. Now that we're coming out of that, coming out of the pandemic, coming out of a wild bull run for the real estate market from the value side of things, now we need to see what this new normal looks like. But I think there's enough information and enough trend happening for us to end off all of this review optimistic. There will be more opportunities this year, and I do firmly believe in still making sure you get your ducks in a row. Keep your eye on the market. Keep your eye on those properties you may be interested in. Keep an eye on those markets you may be interested in moving to or buying property in, and you will start to get a sense for yourself of where home values are, how things are transpiring, and then you'll know if you really got to hit the gas or if you can, pump the brakes a little bit and then really wait and find that perfect opportunity for yourselves. That is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, follow us on Instagram. Also, you can share the show with anybody that may be interested in this information or find it beneficial to themselves in their home search, or if they are a real estate professional. I'm going to try and keep that bar very high with the quality of information and insights that I provide every week for you. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Take good care.